Hello people of YouTube, it's Deepak here, and welcome to the DCS news stream for the 6th of November 2021. Welcome Tog, you are indeed first. I hope that you all enjoyed that, the most recent tutorial in the JF-17 series, covering the BRM-1 laser rockets. Next week, I'm going to be demonstrating the LD-10 anti-radiation missile, which is... now what's it called again? It's not the Alarm. What is the Western anti-radiation missile? I've used it so many times. HARM. So this is basically the Chinese version of the HARM. 6th of November. Oh no! Yes, Mark S has noticed that the title of the video is wrong. That's not great. Okay. 13th of November. Thank you, everybody. I don't think I can even edit this now that the stream is actually live. Does it allow me? I'm going to try. I'm going to see what happens. This is how fantastically well organized I am. I pressed the button and it changed. Yay! Okay, right, so maybe it's going to allow me to do this. So yeah, welcome to the stream, Dave. Welcome, Mark S. Remember the 6th of November. So I originally posted in the channel stating that dotChuckles would not be with us today. However, I was wrong. He is in fact available. It's not a big news week, but we're going to go over what we have anyway. So without any further ado, I shall welcome to the stream, as always, the one and only dotChuckles. Hello, sir.
Hello. You all thought I wasn't going to be here.
Surprise!
Look who's back.
Back again. Yes, indeed. Welcome Rusty, welcome Fair, welcome Massey, welcome Storm, welcome Irish Pat. Everybody's here. Nobody was here, right? There was like 3 people, and then they heard you were coming. And then
well, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
The rush.
Yes, I didn't actually think I was going to be here because I am under some crunch deadline at the moment. And as you know, crunch time is not fun time. So, but fortunately, I am waiting on computers doing things. So I was like, actually, I can do the news. So here I am.
Chat is joking that initially I had the stream set to the wrong date. So it initially said 6th of November, and they said that you weren't available in the past, but you are available in the present. So, there you go.
Yes. I wasn't available in the past, I'm now available, yeah. Anyway, but computers are whirring, fans are spinning, and I can't do anything whilst that's happening. So.
Progress bar time. Fantastic.
Yes, yes.
Well, as I said at the start of the stream, there's not that much news. However, we should cover Eagle Dynamics newsletter, as they do release a little snippet of DCS deliciousness every week.
Yes.
So we'll take a little look at that, and I also have one small snippet from Razbam as well to go over. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment.
Okay.
So this week we do have an update, or like a pending update for the AIM-120 AMRAAM. There was a big update. I don't know how much you've seen of this, Chuck, but last week the big update to the AIM-120 landed. They completely implemented the simulation of the seeker head and the INS and the data link and all kinds of stuff. Really cool stuff. However, a lot of people have posted videos on YouTube demonstrating that this is effectively a nerf of the missile, because they've kind of over-simulated somewhat all the ways in which the missile can have a hard time tracking things.
Right.
And in fact, I think, am I right in thinking it was... oh no, I've forgotten his name now. Oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, one of the big DCS YouTubers posted a video where he fired 10 AMRAAMs at a friend, well, at a person who was in a mission with him, and all 10 missed. And these were shots ranging between like 30 nautical miles and 5 nautical miles. Maneuvering, however, they all missed.
Okay.
Which is not great.
Yeah, I mean, whilst I understand that the AMRAAM in DCS was needing a nerf because it was way overpowered and not realistic, I think they might have gone a little bit too far in the other direction.
Yes, and I think they've recognised this. And, this, of course, was their first pass. They're now, they actually start this development update for the AMRAAM by saying thank you for your continued patience and support. So I think they recognise that they've maybe gone slightly astray. Stormtrooper AIM for sure. This sophisticated weapon has demanded quite deep remodeling and debugging, and we found several issues in the missile velocity search and tracking algorithms. So I think basically what they're saying is the missile is losing you in background clutter. To an unrealistic degree. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there's any data out there on, AMRAAMs launched and versus kills and things like that. I doubt that data is publicly available. But yeah, a 10 for 0 seems to be a bit, no. I mean, that said, it makes a change from the situation with the AMRAAM that we had some years back, which was, it's absolutely accurate, it's completely fine, secret documents.
Yep, no more secret documents for sure. Actually, a couple of the guys in chat are quite correctly saying it was Tricker. Thank you very much. Go and check out Tricker's channel. He does some really nice analysis of the missile and how it's performing just now. Well, thank you very much, Channel Right, for the super chat. They're very, very kind of you, sir.
Oh, very kind of him. Yes, very kind.
So yeah, they're saying basically they're continuing development of the AMRAAM, and there's going to be another big update in 2.7.8, which is landing soon. So yeah, we've made substantial improvements to home on jam and visual modes. Next stages of development are realistic range gating modeling to enhance the missile's onboard radar to contend with strong ground clutter returns.
Okay.
So more goodness inbound.
It's good to see the the Blue Force's main gun getting updated. It would be interesting to know if the red side, if their missiles are as accurately modeled, if this is them bringing the AMRAAM up to that accuracy, or if the red side suffer from similar issues that we don't know about because there's not enough data.
Actually, the Red 4 missiles were already remodeled last year, I'm going to say. They did a bunch of big bits in their newsletter all about it. So I don't know about the R77, because that's the one that's a bit kind of magic. But the R27s were massively remodeled and made more realistic.
The thing is really ultimately it's a systems modeling accuracy issue, because the actual aerodynamics modeling, capability modeling in terms of range and ballistic range, that's just physics. Yeah. We know what the dimensions of these things. You can do fluid dynamics calculations to work that stuff out. And you know what the rocket is that's in it, and you know what force that rocket can put in for the time it can put in, and the rest is just a physics problem. So I'm less concerned about the accuracy of ballistics modeling and how these missiles handle in the air. It really, the whole problem with missiles and DCS comes down to the accuracy of modeling the systems and tracking and error rejection and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's where the difficulty is really.
Certainly my experience of being on the wrong end of the R77 is that it can be defeated. However, it's pretty bloody good. So I've defeated it in the Harrier, which is like probably the worst case scenario for a pilot, and it was a combination of dumping all the chaff I had and pulling some pretty crazy maneuvers. It's a very, very capable missile. So I don't know what they've done with the R77, but it seems realistic enough. And I think that everybody would agree that the ranges we're seeing out of these missiles, as you say, ballistically, I think they're pretty spot on based on what you would expect. Of course, we don't have much data to go on. But the performance of the sensors and the performance of the data links and the autopilots, those are the things we don't really know.
It's like I say, the physical side of these things is easily modeled, not easily modeled, but you can extrapolate that data now. I mean, with the ability for fluid dynamics calculations, even on home computers now, this kind of these kind of studies is possible, and I would certainly imagine that ED has the resources to back engineer that kind of stuff. Whether that means you're starting to get into sort of, you know, ITAR scariness, I don't know, but you know, you can say.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I would suspect that Eagle Dynamics do not have documentation on how the AMRAAM data link works. So my suspicion would be that they are simulating the kind of end result as opposed to how it actually works. So we know it has a data link, we know it has the capability to do mid-course updates. I guess they're just imagining how they would implement that if they'd been given the job.
Well, I think there's a lot of that going on in DCS. I mean, I know that they say that all this stuff is simulated, but I'm pretty damn sure that there's quite a bit of stuff that is they're just reproducing the end result because they can't actually simulate it. You know.
Yes. And I think that clearly that's the case with things like jammers, with things like data links, probably even missile autopilots. There's a whole bunch of stuff where, you know, I think the end result is probably close enough, you know, for us. Yeah. But clearly they don't have the data to simulate how it really works.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. That's fine. We'll take what we can get. So moving on, the other big bit of news, and actually this one was interesting. I didn't know that this was coming. This is a new thing for me. Eagle are going to remodel all of the Russian pilot models, which is really, really cool. They've stated that basically in the new year, every single Russian pilot model will be replaced with a nice fancy new one.
Yeah, because I mean there are some models there that go back a good long way, so you know it's been overdue. And the picture that they've attached to the newsletter is really interesting because I've never actually seen the Russian helmet mounted display. I mean, I knew it was a thing, but this is the first time I've actually seen it.
Actually, me too. So as soon as I saw this, I was like, so that's what the Su-27 and the MiG-29 have. That's what it actually looks like. It looks bloody fragile.
It does look fragile, but then it looks a lot more lightweight. And I mean,
yes,
you know, low-tech solutions aren't always the worst solutions. If it works and it produces the results, then it's a perfectly adequate solution. And looking at that, it looks pretty low tech, but what it does look is very lightweight. And it looks like it's, you know, I would imagine that it's pretty easy to maintain. I mean, I can't comment on the accuracy, I can't comment on its capability, but if it does the job, then fine. I mean, I'm going to imagine that the pilot isn't going to get the same kind of information detail that you would get with one of these Western helmet-mounted systems, but you know, well, yeah, it seems to do the job.
This helmet-mounted system, it is far simpler than the Jehikmis, because you know the Jehikmis is an actual helmet-mounted display, really. This is a monocle. It can only display. It only has two symbols, so it displays a cross or a circle or both. And it can also flash those symbols, and that is literally all you get. So
it's
very
really
simple.
A queuing system. It really is a queuing system rather than sort of any kind of information system. I think in terms of what I understand about it.
That's correct. So the downs, you know, this system is nice in many ways because, as you suggest, it's almost certainly lighter. I don't have the numbers, but it's clearly lighter. It's simpler, but you have this loss of situational awareness. The moment you go off bore sight, you can't see any of your instruments. So that's where the Jehikmis is far superior. And whatever the system is that the Eurofighter has, I don't even know what that system's called.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing here is that it can be retrofitted. It looks like it can be retrofitted to sort of pretty much anything with the looks of the mounting system. You know, whereas when you're talking about Jehikmis and, you know, all these other systems, I mean, they require a helmet that costs more than my house. So, you know, like in terms of a budget solution, this is pretty good.
And let's not even mention the F-35 helmet.
Yes, I know, right? I mean, that's what isn't it something crazy like $250,000 for the helmet or something stupid like that?
I suspect it's even more than that.
Right.
Yeah, actually, sorry, I'm going to have to do this. Helmet cost. 400,000. There you go.
Whoa, okay, there we go. Like, I knew it was pricey, but yeah, okay, it is really pricey.
Upwards of $400,000 and requires 2 days of special fittings. So,
Jesus.
there you go. We now have our answer. I suspected it was... I actually thought it was closer to $1 million, so it's a little bit cheaper than I thought.
Yeah, and you gotta ask the question: how much more effective is that helmet going to be than this thing that's like gaffer taped on your forehead?
Well, of course, with the F-35 helmet, you can look through your aircraft. You can overlay information,
which they apparently don't use. They kind of do it once and go, that's pretty neat, and then never use it again.
Well, yeah, exactly. Who knows how useful it is? But you also have overlaid information from all your sensors, from your data link. You've got full situational awareness. You've got all the queuing kind of information. It's very, very good.
Well, I mean, I'm my understanding, and again, I'm willing to be prepared to be corrected if I'm wrong, and I'm frequently wrong, as we know. That is the F-35's effectively primary instrument, isn't it? Because it doesn't have a HUD.
Yes, correct.
And that's where all the flight information, heads-up flight information, is being projected.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, yeah, you have a heads down display. It's got its screens and touch screens and things like that. But you're flying about stuff, and when you think about the cost of a head-up display unit, they're not cheap items.
No, I suspect not.
So, you've kind of deleted that from the airframe and put it in the helmet instead. So my initial kind of holy fuck, $500,000. Actually, well, if you don't have a HUD and you don't have the associated gubbins with the HUD in the cockpit, you've moved that cost to the helmet. It kind of, I guess, makes sense as to why it costs that much.
Well, as you suggest, you're at least offsetting the cost.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, that I had forgotten, but you are quite right. The F-35 is the first frontline military aircraft in 50, 60 years that doesn't have a HUD. And it kind of brings it in line with what the Apache does, funnily enough, because, of course, the Apache does not have a HUD.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All the sort of display fusion stuff goes on in the helmet, albeit in a much more lower tech manner. So yeah, now that I think about it, actually, okay, I can understand why that costs so much, because a HUD unit and the associated support equipment for that HUD, because it's not just a unit that sits in the front of the cockpit. There's a whole bunch of electronics going on in the electronics bay to make it work.
Yeah.
You've taken all of that stuff out, and I'm going to imagine that must cost somewhere in the territory of about $500,000, if not more, because Christ, if a switch in one of these cockpits cost 50 quid,
yes,
you can imagine what this kind of kit costs. So, that's now been moved to the helmet. So, I guess this whole, oh my God, $500,000 for a helmet, it's kind of like, well, it's a bit of a moot point, really.
Yeah, very much so. Fair quite rightly says as well that there's ongoing maintenance to think about.
This is entirely true. You got to maintain the HUD, and if you have to maintain a HUD, I would imagine you're going to have to strip it out of the cockpit. The jet's going to go down whilst you do that. Whereas if you need to maintain the helmet-mounted system, well, you get a different helmet, or you put a different pilot in the aircraft. So yeah,
not too bad. So yeah, looking at this, they're for some reason they're talking about the Mi-24P pilot here, but in actual fact they are replacing all of the Russian pilots. So early on in the new year. So in the screenshots presented, you can see the ZSH-7AP helmet for the MiG-29 and Su-27 and Su-33 with the KM-35 oxygen mask and the NVU-7 helmet sighting device. The helicopter version of that helmet is equipped with a boom microphone, and that will be the one used by the Mi-8 and Mi-24 helicopters. That's the funny thing. The Russian Air Force has pretty much, I guess for that range of aircraft, one helmet. So it's interesting that they've standardized that much.
They have pretty much again, prepared to be wrong, but they pretty much have one helmet across the board.
I don't know for sure, but I suspect that the new fighters, things like the Su-57 and so on, I suspect they have a different helmet, but I don't know that for sure. But certainly the like kind of current gen stuff that the Russian Air Force have, it's pretty much all one helmet.
So David Flute is asking what the holes in the top are for. Really kind of cool what they're for. Yeah. It's air conditioning for your head.
Yes.
Or heating, or actually probably more likely heating. So there's a crew packs system basically that can put warm or cold air into your helmet, and those are the vents on the top that let the air escape.
And when it's not being used, they then just work as kind of convection vents. Yeah. So yes, it's for keeping your head cool. Simple solution, but it works.
Yeah, and I know the Russians put some quite nice features to keep pilots toasty in the cockpit for when it's Siberian weather,
when it's a bit chilly outside.
Yeah.
A bit nippy. Okay, and then the final item that we have on the newsletter for this week is all about the Apache, as you would expect, because of course there's still a lot of development going on here, and they're talking about the TADs. So they're once again talking about the fact that the whole new FLIR system is coming, and there's going to be the ability to display the FLIR image on your helmet-mounted displays, on your TEDAC, the gunner's sight, and it can also be displayed on the multi-purpose displays, both front and back. It can be used as night vision sensor for nighttime flying by either crew member, and it allows the TADs to be slaved to the helmet line of sight of either crew member for nap of the Earth flying under near total darkness. You've got multiple fields of view that you can make use of. The camera is being developed to showcase our new FLIR rendering technology. The nice thing that they spell out here is that technology is going to be applied to things like the Lightning targeting pods and the Maverick missile seeker head for the infrared version. So, which is what you would expect, but it is nice to see them spell that out. So really just a continuation of that work. I have to say the image that they share in the newsletter,
it's not very good compared to what they've got on the screenshots page, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So what they show, these other screenshots, actually look very, very good. Something that I hadn't really appreciated is that the TEDAC is monochrome white-black, and the helmet-mounted displays are green. And actually the multifunction displays are also green. So you've got kind of two different representations of the same image depending on where you're projecting it.
Well, they're the TEDx showing a green image.
That's not the TEDAC. That's the helmet-mounted display. It's just
that's the TEDAC. Like if you go that image, that's the helmet-mounted display. Go back one.
That's the multifunction.
That's the TEDAC.
Oh, you're right.
Is it? It's the TEDAC. Look,
you're right. You're right.
The grip controls to the left.
You're absolutely right. That's the TEDAC. So what the hell is this? That's also the TEDAC.
Also the TEDAC.
So that's the switch in day. That's the switch in night. Oh, so the TEDAC uses green for night and black-white monochrome for... Okay, I thought it was just black-white monochrome because I'd only seen it in that mode so far. That's really interesting. Well spotted, sir. I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah, I'm gonna reckon that it's like that'll just be for your night vision, just so you're not like blasting your retinas with a white light in the cockpit at night, where you really want like a
green sympathetic color. Yes. Oh, wow. What? Tog is making an interesting comment here. He says it also vents gases from the powder charge, lowering the visor of the helmet when the pilot ejects. Then it vents...
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it vents oncoming airflow. It provides additional ventilation in hot weather. Yeah, because there is like a conditioning unit that hooks up to the helmet that can like keep cool air in it as well. So I did know that, but I didn't know that there's a gas blowdown for the visor.
Bloody hell. That's
Actually, do you know what? The Russian ejection system is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, in a lot of respects, it's better than Western systems because it has a different philosophy. So in Western systems, it is designed to get you out of the aircraft as quickly as possible. And when I say quickly as possible, it is that. You are out in between, pull, you're in your chute. That's it, done. Whereas the Russian system is designed to extract you from the aircraft in a survivable or in a less damaged state, but slightly slower. And the way it does it is amazing. It has all sorts of stabilization features, all sorts of things that stop the pilot being injured as they egress the aircraft. So it makes a lot of sense that there's going to be this gas blowdown for the visor because, it's going to stop injuries and things to the face.
Yeah, because with the Western seats, there have been many cases of people receiving quite nasty facial injuries from airflow and so on. I don't know very much about the Russian seats, but I have noticed that they have these probes that extend out on the bottom of the seat, kind of left and right.
That's part of the stabilization system. So it's part of stopping. Part of stopping the seat from tumbling, which allows for a cleaner deployment of the chute, which also stops shock injuries when the chute goes. And it has a few other things as well. I mean, the prime example is, if you remember about 15, 20 years ago, two MiG-29s collided at an air show.
I think, was that not in Paris, perhaps? I can't quite remember. I think
it was in Paris. Yeah. And both pilots got out, literally landed, and kind of went, sparked up a cigarette and carried on chatting, and were absolutely fine. Whereas you look at like a Western pilot with like an ACES or something like that, they're probably going to hospital. I mean, they'll be all right, but they'll probably have dislocated some stuff, and are going to have some injuries. They're not landing. I mean, they might, if they've been right in the middle of the perfect envelope. Yeah, they might walk away from it, but probably not.
Yeah. But
although the next ejection system that's being worked on, whose name escapes me, it features this webbing system that flies around the pilot and basically encases them to stop flail injuries. So
I saw this. But,
yeah, it looks really creepy, actually. It looks a bit arachnid. But yeah, it's just a different philosophy in terms of crew escape. In that, in Western systems, it's get the crew out as quickly as possible so they survive, but they might be injured and they might have to spend some time in hospital. Whereas the Russian system seems, their philosophy is more get the pilot out. Yeah, there's a risk they might not make it out, but if they do make it out, they're going to be pretty much perfectly fine.
Yes. Yeah. I can't imagine that they're that. Well, okay, yeah, maybe I'm about to say something stupid, but I can't imagine there are that many scenarios where the extra second or two makes that much difference. But actually, there probably are.
Oh, it absolutely can. Yeah. It absolutely can, and it does. I mean, there was a initiative in I think it was the U.S. Navy about ejection time and ejection decisions. In that a lot of pilots were waiting too long to eject, and they had to really drill it into them. Throw the fucking plane away. It doesn't matter. Just get out. If you think you need to get out and do it straight away, because it can't. Those few seconds can can make the difference. And I will give you a real world example from somebody I know. I'm not going to mention their name. They were flying a Hawk into Cranwell. This was a former Empire Test Pilot School pilot that I know, and he was flying with his navigator in the back. And there had been a mistake made, as I understand it, within the tower, and they were cleared in too early after a large aircraft had taken the option. They'd done
like a rejected landing.
The rejected landing. And they were cleared in too close behind, and they got caught in the wake turbulence, and it flipped their aircraft upside down. And my person that I knew, he pulled the handle, and from the moment that stuff started going wrong to when he pulled the handle was a third of a second.
Wow. Okay.
However, it was enough time that the Hawk had rolled beyond 90 degrees and he went out sideways into a hill. So he has a Martin Baker tie, but he doesn't have the Silkworm badge because his parachute never deployed. And he went into the hill, still strapped into his seat. Now, he was very badly injured.
That kind of thing is usually fatal.
Usually fatal. He was given literally a couple of hours to live. Fortunately, he recovered. He required multiple surgeries to his legs. And it was debatable whether he would walk again. He certainly was never going to fly again. And it ended the career, a very distinguished flying career, which included Harriers. But he recovered, and he became an avid hill walker and required to use two sticks to walk. But he did recover. But that was a third of a second from that happening. His navigator never ejected because he realized after front went that he couldn't, because at that point the Hawk had now completely rolled inverted. So if he'd ejected, he would have ejected inverted at low altitude. So he stayed in. The Hawk crashed on the runway. It skidded down the runway, with him still in the cockpit, and it came to rest. Crash trucks rolled. They expected him to be dead, but they found him in what was remaining of the aircraft upside down. Basically jacked it up, pulled him out, and he effectively walked away from it. With scratches, and the top of his helmet was perfectly scraped down into a perfect circle because his helmet was sliding down the tarmac as he was going. And I believe it is in the trophy cabinet at Cranwell. If you ever managed to go to Cranwell, it sat there. But yeah, that was a delay of a third of a second, and it almost cost him his life. But interestingly, it's one of these studies in people taking completely different options that are both correct at the same time. Because pilot in the front, if he had not ejected, he would have certainly been killed because there was nothing left of the front part of the Hawk's cockpit. If the navigator, if he hadn't ejected, he would have definitely been killed. If the navigator had ejected, he would have also definitely been killed because he had rolled inverted. And with the way that the Hawk ended up on the runway, he was in a little survival space in the rear cockpit and walked away from it. So yeah, ejection time really matters.
So what we learn from this, kids, is whether you're riding a motorcycle or a bicycle or a quad or whatever, wear your helmet.
Christ, yeah. If his helmet had come off or something like that, he would have been dead. But yeah, his helmet saved his life, so it absolutely worked. But yeah, that's a little story about ejection time. So, like, whilst I think the Russian system has certainly, if you're abandoning an aircraft in a not a dynamic situation, I think it will protect you better than a Western ejection seat. But I think in a dynamic situation where you need to immediately throw the jet away, I would rather probably be in an ACES. Yeah, nice and fast. Thank you very much for the super chat, by the way, Frantic. That's extremely kind of you, sir. Thank you very much.
Apache is indeed beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
And yes, your missus always says ejection times are critical.
Yeah, you want to delay ejection as long as possible.
Yes. And yeah, exactly. Frantic. When's the Tornado coming out?
Yeah, this is Frantic's development project, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, he's going to release the Tornado and get it all worked out.
Yeah, he's going to sort it. Yeah.
So that's the end of the Eagle Dynamics newsletter. I do, however, have one more little thing to share with everybody. I'm a bit of a lurker on the Razbam Discord, and they post things from time to time about updates. This is very, very small, but here we go. Here's a Harrier with visualized fuel dumping, which is now coming to the Harrier in the next update.
Oh, I don't think any... Does any other aircraft have that?
Hornet.
Is the Harrier now the first?
No, Hornet is the first. Hornet has visualized
Hornet
fuel
was
dumping.
The first.
Yeah.
Hornet was the first. Right.
And in fact, the Hornet is the only other aircraft in game that can fuel dump. So, makes sense.
No, it can't. No, yeah. Right. I thought the F-16 can dump fuel, but it can't. No, that's right.
Oh, wait, actually, the F-14, can it dump fuel? I would assume that it can dump fuel.
I don't think it can.
Oh.
No.
That's interesting. I simply assumed, although the F-14, landing weight is not so critical with the 14. But
can the con?
Yeah, in the 14.
Oh, it can. Apparently, it can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it can. It does have an outboard dumping.
And with that being heat blur, I would be very surprised if they haven't added a visualization for the actual fuel dumping.
Yeah.
Now, the follow-up question that somebody asked about this was, are they also simulating the water dump? Because the Harrier has the ability to dump its water. And Razbam replied, and I didn't know this in real life, you can't see the water dumping in real life because it just turns into such a thin mist that it's not visible. So they've said that they're not implementing that because you can't see it in real life.
Oh, okay.
And it's also a very, very small quantity of water. So even if you do dump it, it wouldn't last very long, and apparently it totally atomizes and you don't see it.
Okay.
Somebody, Alejandro is saying that Lock-On had it as well. I'm wondering if because I know the Su-33 can fuel dump, so was there a visualization for the Su-33? I don't remember.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Well, it's good to see it. It's good to see it's coming. It's a small detail, but we like small details.
You do.
Your story of dumping water in the Harrier, because that is a fuel dump. Yeah, it's because the Harrier does run on water.
Not entirely.
Yeah. No, it does. It's water and special fuel pills.
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Can I tell this story? Because it's
Please do. It took my brain a few seconds to figure you out.
Right. So this story goes back.
This is Belize, right?
Belize. Yeah, this story goes back. Britain sent... as a show of force, at some point, Guatemala was threatening to invade Belize. And Britain sent, as a show of force, a contingent of Harriers to basically deter Guatemala from invading. And it was successful. They successfully prevented a crisis. However, the RAF was doing some hearts and minds, show off the Harriers to the locals, basically look, this is what we've brought, to help you out. And they did a little display. And security was somewhat lax. And one of the ground crew of the Harriers noticed two gentlemen who were taking a real interest in the Harriers, an unhealthy interest in the Harriers. And it had gone around that, look, it's very likely that Guatemala are going to send some intelligence agents to go and have a look at the Harriers. And he was there, and they were refilling they were topping up the water for the water injection system. And one of these gentlemen asked, "Is that the fuel?" And he said, yes, that's the fuel. Says, and they went, "Oh, what fuel is that?" And he went, "Oh, it's just water. We put these special pills into water and it makes fuel." And they're like, "Really? No." And he goes, "Yeah, look." And he takes the water and he pours it into a cup and he gives it to them to drink. And they go, "Oh my God, it's water." And he goes, "Yeah, we take these little pills, we put it and we drop one of these pills into the tank. Maybe sometimes we put 2 pills in if we want it to go really, really fast." And they went, "Oh, that's, wow." And basically packed up, got in their car and fucked off back over the border. What they didn't know, and what the ground crew hoped, was that he probably reckoned water purification tablets don't really damage the Harrier.
No.
Only a Brit.
Yes, it's pretty good. And actually, I can imagine that from time to time they must put some kind of like anti-algae or something into the...
Oh, there's got to be a biocide that goes into that. Like, you have to... I mean, they put biocide into fuel systems anyway in aircraft.
Yeah.
So I would imagine there's some kind of biocide that gets put in it. But yeah, he made this great show of opening up this little, carefully taking out this little tablet and dropping it into the water tank.
Deary me. Yeah, no, I read that one in the Harrier Boys. It's pretty good. Yes, so we're not getting any visualization of the H2O dump. But the funny thing is, I can't imagine that many situations where you would use the H2O dump, because even when it's full, it's only £500. But hey, who knows? Maybe if you're not able to maybe if you've got hung stores and you can't drop them, and you've got some kind of engine problem, and you've already dumped as much fuel as you can dump, maybe you want that extra £500. I don't know.
£500 is still £500. You might want to get rid of it. I mean, that's a couple of small bombs worth of weight. So yeah,
good to have the option. And even some systems, some aircraft have the ability to dump the oxygen. Because I guess in older aircraft the oxygen is liquid, right?
Ooh, I don't know.
I don't even know if the Harrier has it, but I've seen that some Western aircraft on the oxygen panel have an oxygen dump. So
don't know. To be honest, I don't know if it would be liquid. I mean, liquid oxygen takes a lot of pressure and very low temperature. But I mean, I think it is like really quite highly compressed. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you had an overpressure event, yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's not something I'm knowledgeable about. I mean, of course, OBOGs ultimately finished that problem because you don't have to have tanks of compressed oxygen sitting about. So
yes, indeed. But yeah, that's something that I picked up on the Razbam channel. So we don't have a date as yet for Open Beta 2.7.8, although I get the feeling that it's soon. Maybe in a week or two. I don't know. And that's the one where we're going to get this update to the AMRAM and perhaps this fuel dumping update for the Harrier. Perhaps even other bits and bobs, which would be nice.
Oh, I've just thought of a use case for dumping oxygen.
Yes?
I wonder if it might be a fire thing.
Oh, yes. Yeah, because you do not want to be carrying compressed oxygen if you have a fire.
No. Yeah, I wonder if it's a fire thing. If you have a fire in the avionics bay, which is I'm pretty sure actually where the oxygen is, or is near there, you might want to get rid of that.
Let's not have this thing. Oh,
let's not have oxygen lying around. Yeah.
Yes, Fair is quite correctly saying that the tank itself is going to weigh way more than the oxygen.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense. But yes, no news as yet. But you will, you will hear from us next week if we have a date for 2.7.8. But that is actually all the news we have for this week. As I said, it's been a pretty sparse week this week, but that's okay.
Do we have any speculation on what's supposed to be coming in 2.7.8? Have we heard much about that?
Actually, no. The only things that I've heard about are this further update to the AMRAM, and then I would assume we're going to be getting further Hind stuff, further F-16 stuff, and then who knows what else. I know that Razbam are working on a bunch of stuff for the Harrier, but it has no date for when it's going to land yet. They're working on bomb lofting, which would be a really nice profile to get added. They've also been doing a lot of work on the data transfer unit. With an eye to integrate with combat flight. That, however, is dependent upon Eagle adding data transfer unit stuff to the SDK. They don't want to kind of create their own entire system and then have Eagle kind of come out with their own. We don't want a repeat of the whole air-to-ground radar thing where people like Deca and Heatblur made their own air-to-ground radars and then Eagle basically replaced it.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably might be quite good to shout out. This came from our very own Shadows in the VAF. For people who are using Virpil hardware, apparently he's had a bit of a nasty experience with the software. I don't know if you were aware of this. So as I understand it, so Shadows has a YouTube channel, and I would thoroughly recommend you go and check his videos out on Virpil hardware if that interests you. He's done some very good reviews and some really valuable content there. So go check his stuff out. But he, being at the bleeding edge of technology, downloaded the beta version of the Virpil software. And if you do that, be prepared to remap everything.
Oh, okay.
Because what has apparently happened is that with the recoding of the software, it changes the ID of all your hardware, as I understand it, as he explained it to me.
Yes.
Which means your machine, and therefore DCS goes, it's a totally new piece of hardware. And will not link your profile back to it. So you'll have to recreate your profile.
I've had this happen with major firmware updates to Virpil products.
Yeah.
So I've actually not updated my firmware in ages, but I did have one firmware update in the past which made it generate a new hardware ID.
There is apparently, if you have if you have done this and you know haven't sort of booted up DCS yet to discover the pain, there is apparently a piece of software I think called Bulk Renamer, which you can then go back and it'll rename your devices, but I'm not entirely sure how it works. Like, I mean, it's on the edge of my understanding. The guy is an electronics engineer, so you know he knows his onions. But yeah, the advice that has come from Shadows is, maybe hold off on updating into the beta branch of the Virpil software. Although apparently it looks like this is going to have to be a bullet that we're all going to have to bite at some point with the change in the way that they've coded the software. So potentially some fun times ahead. So I would suggest back up your profiles.
Yes, or even use the export function that DCS has, because you can do that and then load them in again. Exactly.
And to further hawk Virpil, did you see the new helicopter panel that they put out?
I did.
Yes. So we've now got the throttle levers. We've got what else is it? The condition levers. Like we've got a bunch of analog levers. It's very K50 centralized. So you have the APU start button, the engine start buttons. You've got the trial modes on a control dial, and you've got a bunch of stuff for sort of other K50 functions. But you could easily remap that to other things. But it also comes now, you can get quite a nice new mount that puts it just to the left of your collective if you also happen to use the collective. So it's some pretty nice kit.
Virpil stuff is very, very good. I now have a completely Virpil setup with stick, throttle and rudder, and I'm very, very happy with it. And of course you have the helicopter collective as well.
Yes, I've got the collective as well, and I actually have one of their panels. Do you know what the panels was? something I wasn't really interested in because I have the ability to make my own panels, and I have done. I've made switch boxes and panels and things like that, and I can do it for far less cost and have the enjoyment of building something like that. But I was quite taken with their panel number 2 because it had the really nice gear down lock lever, and it's got the detents on it, and it's lovely, and it's really nice to be able to just reach forward and flick that thing down. And so
for some reason, when you say panel number 2, my brain immediately goes Mambo number 5. But anyway.
Oh god, there's a blast from the past that really should have stayed in the past.
Sorry, everyone.
Fair FM is asking, do I recommend Virpil over Warthog?
You've had both, so you're the man to ask.
I have had both. The Warthog is a great HOTAS. You will not be disappointed if you own a Warthog. It is expensive. It is more, I think, than buying the equivalent Virpil setup. But they're both great. They are both fantastic. However, if you can't mount your controls to your desk with the brackets that come with Virpil, or you don't want to, Virpil's not for you. Go for the Warthog, because the Warthog you can use on the desk because it comes with a base plate, and you can just have it there on the desk. Because
there's no way that you're sitting. The Virpil stuff is not freestanding. Cannot be freestanding.
It cannot be freestanding because the gimbal base is really high. And all that kind of stuff. The Warthog is a great HOTAS, but if you actually open it up, its quality is not that great. Now, a lot of people say, oh, but it's made of metal and all that kind of stuff. No. They've made the hand grip out of metal to add weight to make it feel expensive. If you actually look at a Warthog gimbal, it's made out of stuff that's come out of a Frosties packet. It's plastic, it's got nasty grease on it, it suffers from stiction under certain circumstances, and most serious people that have got a Warthog ended up binning the gimbal and replacing it with an aftermarket unit anyway.
Because you were for a while running a Virpil gimbal with the Warthog, am I right?
That's exactly right. Exactly right. The grip that comes with the Warthog is lovely. It is very nice. It's chunky. It feels real. Absolutely great. But I would say that the Warthog stick, it really only shines until you get an extension and you mount it on, lower down, so that you've got a bit more throw, because the spring forces on the Warthog is really high. And people say, oh, but that's sturdy and it's premium. It's too high. If you've ever actually flown a real trimmed aircraft, and you will laugh at the Warthog at spring forces. And it also has quite a large center detent bump, which makes accuracy a little bit tricky. But these are minor drawbacks. It's still a really good HOTAS. The throttle unit as well, if you're flying an A10 or an F-18, it's brilliant because all the correct switches and things like that are all mapped on that throttle. But you will do the upgrade to the slew sensor on the Warthog throttle, because it's trash. It's absolute nonsense. You get this little nipple thing and it's absolutely crap and you can't do anything with it. And there's an aftermarket mod for it that costs about $20 and takes about half an hour to do, and then it's absolutely brilliant. But again...
I have a question. Yeah, I actually have a question for you. You also have the CM3 Virpil throttle. Is the TDC on that one an axis, or is it a switch?
It's an axis.
Because I've got the CM1... and it's just a switch, and I would like an axis.
It's lovely, and it's absolutely lovely. I'll come on to the throttles, the differences in it. Again, the Warthog throttle suffers from the Thrustmaster concept of if it's heavy, it's quality. And the way that they made it heavy was they stuck lead in the base.
Oh well.
Again, when you open it up and you actually look at the mechanics of it, it's trash. I mean, it's infinitely better than SATEC and, you know, things like that. So again, you're still getting a great POTAS for the money. But if you can mount your stuff on the clamps on your desk, the Virpil stuff is better. It's better built. The gimbals are of a higher quality. And the stick grips that they make are just they're pretty flawless. I really like them. The micro switches are perhaps a little bit too sensitive on some of the hat switches on the new on the Mongoose grip, but that's a minor thing. The CM3 throttle is fantastic. The detents on it are incredible. They're easy to change. And they give you can configure them to an extent as to where they sit. So, you know, and they've got the proper finger lifts to push it, you know, over the detents. So that's kind of the breakdown between the two. Yeah, the Warthog HOTAS, it's great. It's really good. If you can only use stuff mounted on a desk, go for the Warthog. However, if you can use the desk mounts and are prepared to sit a bit further back or fly in VR, without a doubt, go with the Virpil stuff. Absolutely, any day of the week. And as well, my argument for the CM3 is that when the A10 was the only thing on around, it was perfect. But now we've got so many different aircraft. We've got so many different control systems that we've got to map. And what I ultimately found with the Warthog throttle, which I used since it came out up until only a couple of months ago, was that I was starting to get limited on what I could do with the throttle in terms of mappings for flying the different kinds of aircraft that I like to fly. That's that's the only reason I got rid of it. Still loved it, still used it. But with the stuff coming out and the things that I'm flying now, I was just finding it was backing me into a corner with what I could do with mapping the controls. But as chat has just said, Tugga says, so what I'm saying is you'd be happy with either in the end, even with the disadvantages. Yeah, pretty much. But if you can overcome that, you know, having to have it mount on a desk, go with the Virpil stuff.
I think that's a very fair review. I've been using Virpil for a long time, and I've been extremely happy with my stuff. And my stuff is now actually very, very early. Like, I've got the first gen of the stick and the first gen of the throttle, which is not as good as the kit that you're rocking just now, but I still very much like it.
I'm still using first gen gimbal. Okay. I'm using first gen gimbal because it's still really good. It's like, I've not got a problem with the gimbal. I'm using the latest gen grip on the gimbal with an extension. The only difference is that you have pushes on all the hat switches now with the latest generation. Yeah, which is nice.
It makes me sad that I don't have that, but I live with it.
It's a CM3 that I'm running for the throttle, and the detents on that are incredible. Like, it's a big upgrade.
Can you push through the detents?
You can. You have. Well, what actually happens is you get several sets of detents and you can mix and match them.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have the detents that mean that I can push out of the idle gate and I can push through the
afterburner
gate. But when I come back out of afterburner, I have to lift the finger lifts. And when I come back in idle, I have to lift the finger lifts. However, I could swap any one of those for detents that just have a bump that you can push through in both directions. So they come with that. They also come with a set of detent, with a detent designed for space simulators, where you have your detent at 50% that is just a bump, that you just get a tactile feedback so you know where your 50% is for
forward or back.
Forward or back. But you can mix and match all of these detents. You can have it tuned to the way that you like it. So you get a lot of options. I would say if you have a Gen 1 or Gen 2, the detents are worth the upgrade if you've got the cash. I mean, the Gen 1, Gen 2 are still really good. The Gen 1 detents did have a habit of wearing down and sort of not working properly. Again, there's some aftermarket mods for that fix the issue.
My detents are original and still work, but I think I'm in the minority. I have heard that a lot of people's have broken.
Yeah. I would say if you're rocking a Gen 1, Gen 3 is probably a good upgrade.
Okay. I'm not going to do that right now, but maybe one day when I'm feeling flush. But it does sound like a nice upgrade.
Yeah. And the pedals, absolutely brilliant. Love the pedals. But again, it's a bit of it's hobby kit, so it needs a bit of fettling. The stand that the pedals come with is trash. Get rid of that and mount it to something solid, and then they'll be amazing. I would say they are on a par with the Thrustmaster pedals, because the Thrustmaster pedals are amazing, but they cost over 500 quid. So I would say you would get the same level of accuracy, but in a smaller, easier form factor that won't fall through your floor due to the weight, and cost half as much.
Yep. Irish Pat is asking us, have you checked out Real Simulator stuff? I haven't, personally.
Real Simulator stuff. Now, this did come across my radar. Oh yes, so they make, if I am right, I'm just looking at their website. They have a gimbal that is force sensing. If it's the one that I'm thinking of.
Oh, sounds exciting.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I mean they. Yeah, okay. Yes, exactly. This is it. Yeah, they make a force sensing gimbal, but they provide to real simulator companies, and as I understand, their stuff is quite pricey. Priced
accordingly, you might say.
Yeah. So I've just put that force sensing gimbal into my cart, and it's going to cost me €2,500.
Oh well.
Yeah, but their stuff looks really nice. I mean, you know, they make grips that are, yeah, just lovely. And but the grips alone are like, if I remember correctly, they were north of €300. You know.
Okay.
So work that out. So it's like really nice stuff, but it's super pricey.
Little bit expensive.
Yeah, a little bit expensive. So, but yeah, I mean, I know it sounds like I'm shilling for Virpil, but I mean, I paid for this stuff out of my own pocket, and you know, the quality is really good. And I have found my interactions with them to be very good as well. Mm-hmm. I only ever had one technical issue, and I spoke to somebody directly who works on them and said, and they did a try this, cool, that's fixed it, and then took a note of the problem and said, we'll look at improving that, because they do iterate their designs. So yeah, I found interacting with them really good. It's just a shame shipping's so damn expensive.
Well, yeah, and then, you know, Belarus. Although I don't know where they're shipping from for European orders now, because I can't imagine it's Belarus.
It's not. I think they drive it across the border into Latvia.
Okay, that would be the smart thing to do.
yeah, they drive it across the border, because mine's shipped from Latvia. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Mine came from Belarus, but I ordered all my stuff years ago, so it was okay back then.
Yeah. No, they should. I mean, I did have a thing where I tried. There was one bit I was trying to order just the other week. I wanted to just order a new clamp to upgrade my clamp, because their new versions of their clamps are really good, and I was rocking a first gen for the stick. And they came back and they said, "Look, we're really sorry, but due to Brexit, we can't process an order that small because of the VAT laws changed, all that kind of stuff. But they offered a solution, and we got it all worked out and all that kind of stuff. But it was they were very good about it. So like I mean, the reason why I know I bang on about them and you bang on about them is because they're genuinely really good, and they're a good company to do business with as well. So.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm very happy with all my stuff. Cool. Alrighty. Well, I think that brings us to the end. But before we finish up, we shall do the standard. Have you heard of this little thing called the Virtual Air Force? Take a little look at Chuck's video feed there. He has the logo. Badoing. Myself and dotChuckles are kind of founders of the Virtual Air Force. We're a group who have a kind of blended milsim, non-milsim approach. You can kind of opt into a more milsim approach, join one of our numbered squadrons. We currently have
sorry, just before we go on, because I'm seeing chat is reacting to Frantic saying, because that's balls because you pay the VAT, not them. That's a cop that. It's to do with their software and processing the giving the indication that the VAT's been paid. They're still working on the software to allow that to happen. So the solution actually wasn't to buy more. They routed me through a different payment system. So
okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So we currently have numbered squadrons flying the F-16 and the Harrier, and then once we have numbers, we will also probably fly things like the F-18, the A-10, etc. But
and of course the Apache.
And the Apache will be coming soon, which dotChuckles himself will be in charge of. And that's very exciting. I'm sure pretty much everybody will be flying that. So Discord link is in the chat. It's also in the show notes below. Please come and join us, even if you just want to hang out. You've got the option of flying with us kind of as a freelancer, kind of casual, or you can join one of our internal numbered squadrons and do training and fly more seriously with us. So please consider that. We're always looking for more people.
Please.
I've been Deepak. He's been dotChuckles. I do a premiere of a tutorial video every Saturday, which just happened before this stream, followed by the DCS news, which is this thing what you is watching now. And we shall see you next week, I suspect. Hopefully.
Just before we go, because chat is still asking questions.
Oh my god, they're talking to us.
Irish Pat 64 asks Apache predictions. I have a prediction. I'm gonna say week 2, week 3 of December.
I'm gonna predict that the Apache is a helicopter. Beyond that, I agree with what he said. I think we're looking at middle of December.
Week 2, week 3 of December. If it doesn't happen then, it's next year. It'll be January. Yeah.
But they have repeatedly stated that it's going into early access this year.
Yeah. But so, I think when that is, it will be mid-December.
Yeah.
And then they'll probably have a bit of a holiday.
Yeah, I hope so. They deserve it.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment. And I'm actually going to give it a moment or two because the chat is going crazy. So let's see if there's more here that comes out.
Yeah, I'm good for a little bit more actually.
Me too. Fair saying no startup video yet, and yes, that's the important one.
Yeah. Well, this is the mark that we've always come back to because they were supposed to go. What was it? It was supposed to be Q3, wasn't it? That was originally
correct.
Yeah, and we were talking about it, and people were saying, "Oh yeah, but it's coming out," and we both said, "Yeah, we've not seen the videos from Wagner that indicate that things are gearing up." And yeah, the critical one is the startup video. Like we always see with every release, we get the same kind of 3 or 4 videos. We get a startup video. We get this is how you use the sensors. This is how you employ this type of weapon. This is how you employ that type of weapon, and it gets released.
Until the Wagner
seen that.
Until the Wagner sings, it's not coming, and the Wagner is not sang yet.
No. So my gut says middle of December. But if we don't get a startup video in November, I'm going to revisit that. I'm going to say they're not making it this year, and it's going to be January.
I'm very hopeful. I think they're looking good with the videos they've already released.
Yeah. Frantic Stunt's saying, so if it's not the beginning of December, I place huge doubt that it'll be this year. You could be right.
Could be right.
You could be right. Yeah, because I mean, just to say, the other thing that you said there is they won't release anything without support with everyone out of the office. They've gotten bitten by that before. This is also true.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we don't see it early December, yeah, we might not see it this year. I think that's actually a fair prediction. But I would say if we see a startup video and here's how you use the sensors video, like by early to mid-November, I think we're looking good for December.
I'm very hopeful. I think we're probably going to see it.
Yeah. I hope so. I really hope so. I'm kind of gutted it didn't land. It didn't land in Q3.
Yeah.
But then actually in a way I'm not, because I've had zero time to dedicate to DCS for the last couple of months with work commitments. So I wouldn't have been able to do much other than go, oh, cool, install, that's pretty. I wouldn't have been able to really get under the hood with it and kind of pull it apart and actually learn how to fly it properly.
Yeah. This is for the best for everyone.
Maybe we could try to get Wags on next week. Yeah, right, okay. Don't think we've got that kind of clout yet.
I one time got a text comment from Wags on one of my videos. That's the most contact I've ever had with him.
Dave, I got a not on a video, but I got a comment from Wags on a forum post because I was talking about Digital Integration's Tornado, and he popped up and said actually DI's Tornado was a big inspiration for DCS World and all that kind of stuff. So
yes,
yeah, same. Have we even asked? Yeah,
no, we haven't. And of course, the other big thing that's going to happen is they're going to have the. I forget what they call it now, but every year they have that like in 2022 video, you know, that kind of thing where they showcase.
Fair FM is just literally, as you said, that has just said, looking forward to the end of your new module teaser.
There you go. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that video too. They always do a good one.
So I've alluded to it, I think, in terms of my hashtag unpopular opinion. I've alluded to it in the past. I don't think we're going to see that this year in the format that we've seen, because I don't think we're getting a new module.
I don't think so either.
After the Apache.
Yeah. I don't think we're getting a new module just now. However, I do think they're still going to make the video, because they normally do that whole, thanks for supporting us, it's been so great over the course of the last year, blah, blah, blah. And then they talk about what they're going to do in the next year. So I think they'll do that, but they're probably not going to tease another module.
Yeah. I don't think we're seeing a new module from ED for a while. It'd be great if I'm wrong and it's something cool, but I don't see it. What I think ED are clearly showing signs of now is feathering their nest, strengthening their platform, and really taking to task issues that have hung around for a long time, and they're starting to address them. Like Fleur, that is such a big deal.
Oh yeah,
like that has been talked about for years. Since the A10 came out, everybody went, the Fleur's nonsense. So I mean, how long's the A10 been out? It's about a decade now, isn't it?
More. A10 is 2008, I think, or maybe 2007, right, so maybe
2007. So we're talking 13 odd years. That the Fleur implementation has just been rubbish. Well, no, in fact, even earlier, because in Flaming Cliffs we had the A10A.
The A10A didn't have Fleur, although it did have the IR Maverick.
It had the IR Maverick. Yeah. It had the IR Maverick. So okay, I stand corrected. The infrared display system has been trashed since the beginning.
Yes.
And people have banged on about it for ages and ages and ages and ages. And now we're seeing it fixed. And it's that kind of big stuff that I think ED are doing, which is why I don't think we're going to see a big module announcement from them. Like, okay, chat is saying F4U.
Don't care.
Don't care. Yeah. You know,
Eurofighter very much care.
Eurofighter, but that's heat blur. It's not ED.
Yeah.
You know,
and probably a lot of development work to be done there, I would think.
Yeah. Or the big announcement that we get at the end of the year is that they're going full force into World War II stuff.
Do not want.
I know, but it's a possibility.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the thing is,
I mean,
we still have plenty of stuff to play with, so fair enough. Whatever's making
yeah,
the money.
yeah. But I mean, they seem to be trying to take on
IL-2.
IL-2. Yeah. You know, that's DCS IL-2. No one wants.
Yeah. Well, we don't want it, but we don't know what the majority want. So
yeah. I mean, this is it. Like, again, we often, we often talk that our viewpoint actually represents a fairly small section of the community. Like, we're a really vocal section of it, but like your average Joe Schmo, who's picked DCS up on Steam, like, don't have a clue what they want. Don't have a clue what they want to push for because they're not massively engaged with the community. Because
not everybody wants to spend hours learning about systems, watching videos from idiots like me. Some people just want to put the thing on the thing and pull the trigger, and that's what you get with the World War II stuff.
And do you know what? That is absolutely fine.
Yes.
Not got an issue with it. Absolutely not got an issue with it. If somebody wants to casually play a flight sim and, shoot down a 109, more power to them. That's great. I don't have an issue with it. But the thing is what we don't know is that the majority of people that have bought a copy of DCS? Because if it is, then that's what's going to lead the market. It's not going to be, rivet counters like myself, pushing their glasses up the nose and going, well, actually, I think you'll find,
Yes.
we're not going to influence the course of what ED do. Because, we represent a small amount of money. So who knows? Who knows?
Time will tell.
And Fair FM is saying it's amazing seeing World War II servers grow in numbers. So there we go. That's World War II people coming into multiplayer.
Yes.
So, maybe that's it.
And maybe that's good for all of us.
Yeah. Rising tide lifts all boats and all that kind of stuff. So...
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe that's going to be the big announcement, because a lot of the stuff this year's been World War II. And, it makes me weep quiet tears because it's just something I don't have interest in. But, if that is your thing, you're going to be really happy.
Yeah. And the thing is, we haven't heard that much about modern air combat recently, which is kind of the alternative to the World War II stuff for the modern stuff, like simplified modern modules. But Eagle, the last time they spoke about it, were adamant that they are still developing it.
Yeah. And I mean that's where the casual gamer is going to go in in our community. And it's good that there's a product for them that's going to give income to the EDM. Irish Pat saying, don't you think DCS is investing a lot in World War II content? It absolutely is.
Yeah,
that's the thing. That's why I'm saying that actually, for sort of the group that I represent, the hashtag unpopular opinion, is that actually the big announcement might be they're heavily investing in World War II stuff.
Yeah, could be.
It's a strange thing. It's a really strange thing how we've got here, because DCS was always about modern aviation.
Yes.
And then what was it? It was what was the first World War II? It was
Mustang.
the Mustang.
Yeah, the high fidelity Mustang was the first.
Which was a tech demo. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It was a tech demo. It was never meant to be a birth of a whole, subset of players, because they modeled the Mustang because it was part of developing like super realistic flight dynamics. So they modeled something that they could get their hands on to be able to do that with, and then it gave birth to the whole DCS World War II stuff, because people went, hey, can we have a
give us something to fight?
So,
because people, like, especially for multiplayer, they're always like, oh, well, if we've got this, can we have the thing that it fights? They always want a companion for every single aircraft. It's the Christian Eagle
that started all this. I don't know. It's a weird thing that it's such a debate, because I feel that we're well served with World War II and good World War II stuff with IL-2.
Yes.
but we're really poorly served. There's only one player in the game that is doing high fidelity modern stuff, and that's DCS. And I just worry it's splitting the. But then again, right? Then again, think about the modules that people would actually want. Like, if anybody says Tornado, we've kind of got them, right? We've got an F-18, we've got an F-16, we've got an F-14, we've got an A-10, we've got a Harrier, we're going to have the Apache, and we've got the Hind. In terms of stuff that we could simulate, because the documents are out there, that's kind of it. Like, what else could you do that isn't super niche?
Yeah, true. MiG-29.
Phantom, fair enough. No. Tog with Phantom. Yeah.
That's a good shout. Thank you very much, Frantic. He's stuffing more fivers in my G-string as we speak.
Does this happen if we mention Tornado every time?
Tornado.
Okay. Channel right. In the modern age, no one does modern aircraft combat save for DCS. They got it spot on, hopefully improving. Need to invest the modern side and expand on everything around the genre. You see, that is my opinion. I share that opinion, which is why the World War II focus, I think, is sort of splitting off from that. But then again, the thing is if there's a crowd screaming out for it that we just aren't hearing, because that's not what we're interested in, then, well, I suppose they have to they have to get, they should get a product. But IL-2 already exists.
That's true. Thank you very much, Storm Barry. Everybody's being extremely kind tonight. Thank you very, very much. Frantic's point about the engine, I think, is a really good one. Like, for me, what I'm most interested in them working on are actually the things they're starting to do anyway. So the overhauls of the missile dynamics, to me, are very, very important. Simulating the radars better. This is something they've not kind of come out and overtly said, but you can see with the work they've done in the F-16 and F-18 that they are more accurately simulating air-to-air radars now, more so than they ever have done. The next thing that is kind of a glaring omission then is ECM and IFF. And the ECM has always been basically not simulated. Like, really, they're doing very, very basic stuff here. And the IFF needs to be more completely simulated as well.
Yeah, and if I had the ability to head off to Duxford, go kick in the doors of the fighter collection, go, oi, mate, this is what you're doing.
Oi,
this is what you're this is what you're doing for the next 2 years. It would be sort your engine out. Don't release any new modules. Get the Vulkan API in, sort your engine out, fix bugs that have been around for 2 decades, and let the third parties handle modules. Yeah,
perhaps
that would be if I could go down to Duxford and say, here's the thing. That's what I would say. Like, I would say, let your third parties handle your modules, but work on the platform, because I still hold back, go back to, I think it was Crosscheck, made a great video called DCS, A Beautiful Mess, which rocked ED to the core.
Yeah.
And because some of these big YouTubers couldn't remain silent anymore about how much of a mess DCS was. And not only how much of a mess their interaction with the community was, and it fundamentally changed how DCS interacts with us. Sorry, how ED interacts with us. There's a couple of issues still, but the thing is that sort of probably, I'd say 60% of what he pointed out in that video that was a mess was the engine, the platform, all that kind of stuff, and it's stuff that they just seem to let fall by the wayside, because it was like, we must release module. Stop fucking releasing modules. Fix your game.
Yes. Thank you very much, Irish Pat. That's extremely kind of you, sir. Thank you. And actually, if Frantic is making a point about charging for the base game, and I have to say that I'm in agreement, actually. Like, even if it was like a one-off or like an annual fee or whatever, if they were actually making money from the core game, if they look at their balance sheet and they go, oh, income comes from here, because all commercial enterprises prioritize the stuff that makes them money. So make it make you money, and then you make it better.
That's a super controversial take.
I'm up for it. Charge me money, Ed. Make the engine better. I'll pay for it.
I don't think it would fly. I don't think see what I did there.
Yeah.
I don't think that would work.
It probably wouldn't, simply because it has been free. This kind of thing you have to do from the beginning. Because if you have something that's free and you start charging for it, it really upsets people. They're like, oh, but why would I start paying for something that I had for free before? You're taking something away. But if it was possible for them to do that, then I would say do it, because it would clearly improve the quality.
Well, there we go. Chat has spoken. Mark S says I'd stop playing. I'd stop playing altogether.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to say I don't know if I would support DCS becoming a subscription thing or a one-off charge, because I pay a fortune in modules. Like, I'd hate to think how much my modules have cost, and the amount of money the ED take out of module sales is pretty damn high, and they get it for every module. So, like, on top of that, to be charging for the engine, it's like, well,
I totally get that point of view, and I recognize that it probably wouldn't work. But ideally, if it was possible to do that, I do believe that it would improve the quality of the base game. Because yes, they make their percentage on all the modules, but that does not incentivize them to invest in the sim. It incentivizes them to sign up more third parties and to get those third parties to make more modules. It doesn't incentivize them to fix their own product.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, like, I think I'm gonna have to come down on the side of chat here. Like Fair FM saying there's not enough hardcore sim lovers out there. Completely agree.
Yeah.
Irish Pat, pay to play. I think that turns people away. They promote free to play now. I would agree with that. Because bear in mind, there's a big market in other parts of the world, and I'm talking China and Russia here, where they don't necessarily have the same disposable income.
Yes.
That use DCS and use the free features of DCS and maybe only buy one module. Price discrimination, for global territories, is a thing, and I think if it became, a paid for service, I think they'd see a big drop off in those territories. And can you imagine the almighty shitstorm that would occur if, it's a paid for service in the UK and US, but it's not paid for in Russia and China?
Oh, yeah. No. I want to be clear. My argument is purely about improving the quality of the product. I recognize that as a business decision, this would not fly. It wouldn't work. Yeah.
Like, I think they can improve their product. I mean, again, I don't have a secret window into their boardroom or their data, so I'm talking out my ass here, and it's pure speculation. I think they can improve the product if they let their third-party developers focus more on developing modules, and they stop, concentrating on module development, because. Yeah, I mean, the thing is they say that...
Well, they're competing with their own partners.
Yeah, and they say that, it's a different team developing the Apache, and it's a different team that developed the Hind, and the Hind, and that the core sim is developed by another team, and it's like, well, yeah, but...
there are going to be some shared resources there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It's clear they chase money but neglect some core aspects. Yeah. See, there's a fair argument there.
Well, they're a for-profit organization. That's not surprising.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, to come back to the point about what will we see in the end of year, in the end of year video. I think it'll be one of two things. It'll be we're concentrating on the engine, and here's the really cool stuff that's going to be in the engine, or hey, look at all this new World War II content we're going to put out. If it's the latter, I will just quietly,
Well, they need to make money. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
Official dynamic campaign generator for multiplayer, fixed combined arms, and official dynamic campaign, that's happening.
Yeah. New air traffic control, that's happening.
Yeah. Fixed combined arms, supposedly that's happening as well. There should have been a flat rate for the base game, as this in itself is a game where one can simulate battles. Okay, here we go. What else? Mark JH saying, with real commercial simulators, you pay for software updates. Why should DCS be any different? Well, do you?
I think, to my mind, the main point is that they never charged from the beginning, and they advertised it as free to play. So there's no going back on that. That's the thing.
Yeah, it would have to be an entirely different and new product, and it would have to be substantially different and substantially approved. And the comments about paying for software updates, well, you kind of don't anymore. That's the thing. I mean, the lifespan of, for example, let's look at Microsoft Flight Simulator. Okay, it's a different genre, but the lifespan of that platform, probably we're looking at about a decade or more. And you're not going to pay for updates for that. Okay, fine. There was a one-off payment for it, which is a little bit different, but it's they're not going to charge for updates to that. Like, I can't see that happening. X-Plane, X-Plane's a bit different. Like, that comes out, they have new versions and you pay for that update. But like a lot of these simulator platforms now, it's you buy it once and then you just get, updates. I mean, Dovetail games aside, but screw them. It's how many FS players buy a third-party aircraft? Lots. Like, the marketplace is a big thing now.
Yes, very much so.
It's like, I think if they were going to make DCS a paid-for product, they would have to give us something very, very different in order to justify that switch from free to play. Now, bear in mind, the thing is that they have products that they sell to the military that do this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The what's it called? Is it the battle simulator? The battle simulator? I forget what they call it.
Yeah. What is that thing called again? Yeah. I can't remember, but I know what you mean. Basically,
as regular users, we know nothing about it. Like, but Edie, they sell this product to militaries that basically simulate battles, and it has a lot more features than what we get access to. Now, I would not be surprised if there is something VBS. Thank you.
No. That's the Bohemia one.
Oh, is that the Bohemia one? Is it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So it's TBS. It's the Battle Simulator.
The Battle Simulator.
Yeah,
I would not be surprised if there is something in that contract that says they can't sell that stuff.
Perhaps not. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, and I mean, it just comes down to how their contract got negotiated. Like, I mean, I'm aware Arma do the same, but Bohemian Transfer do the same. But I mean, they may have had better contract lawyers,
Yes, true enough.
Yeah. Like a lot of I know, TBS. There's a lot of stuff that we just don't see and don't know about because we're not really allowed to. And I'm willing to bet like a lot of that's contractual. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm going to say that might be the reason.
Yeah, and the TBS website is no longer up. So I don't know what that means. I don't know. I don't know if that means they no longer sell that, or if it's now not something they publicly talk about anymore.
Yeah.
I would assume they just don't talk about it publicly anymore.
Yeah. Irish Pat, we got A10C because of it. Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. It was desktop trainer for the Air National Guard.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And Razbam, of course, are doing their thing with the Army de l'Air and the Mirage 2000C. And I'm sure there are other examples. So yeah, it's used by militaries.
Supposedly VAO were doing that too, but yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? Who cares?
But that was our quota. We've mentioned them once this episode.
Yeah, we've mentioned them once this episode, so we can't mention them again. Or maybe even for the rest of the month. I don't know.
Yes.
Is Apache also the same? I don't know. Is the Apache a
contract? Well, the thing is, they're currently training crews for the AH-64E, and this module is focusing on the D, so I would suspect no.
No. Well, hang on. Is the D getting flowed down to National Guard units and things like that?
Could be.
Like
that could be an explanation. Yeah.
I mean, it is an old block, though. That's the thing. Like, I mean, this is a 2002 Apache. I mean, it's pretty old. Like, so I don't know if this was a contract. I've not heard anything about the fact that this software was being used. I think this is purely a consumer demand thing. So I don't know. I couldn't speak to that. Yeah. Look. Is any other nations recently bought old Apaches?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Todd's asking DCS AH-1 Cobra someday. Unlikely.
But the Z model is still used and upgraded, right?
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought that had gone the way of things now.
No, they still fly them. The US Marine Corps still flies the Cobra. I think the Super Cobra, or whatever it's called.
Okay, right, okay.
And it's heavily upgraded. You've got a lot of the same stuff as the Apache in it now.
Yeah. I can't see it happening with the Apache being on the scene. I think.
Goodbye, Fair.
Yeah. Take care, Fair. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, that's my prediction. I think we're either going to see a big World War II announcement, or it'll be we're doing a whole bunch of cool stuff in our engine.
I think they're going to be talking about the engine. That's my prediction there. I think that's what they're going to be excited about. Alrighty. Well, shall we call it to a close there, sir? We have talked about a great many things. I know Irish Pat, sadly, no, nothing. Kiowa is absolute silence, which most likely means they are working hard on it. So, I suspect it's coming, but we have no news.
Yeah, I think rumors of the demise of the Kiowa are greatly exaggerated. It is happening. Things are going on. It's just that's the way they operate. The same thing with the Gazelle. They went silent for the best part of a year at one point. So
yeah,
I wouldn't read too much in that.
One thing that I want to mention just as we're closing is that I threw a bonus out to you guys because you're wonderful people and I want you to be happy. So there's an AV8B bonus video there that just dropped on my channel just for you guys. ATHS mark points. So how to create mark points on the F10 map and transmit them into the data link on the Harrier. So enjoy.
Aren't you a generous chappy?
I know. I'm a
Mark
giver.
J saying perhaps break off a two-tier system where there's DCS modules with fixed software for the casuals and a pro developer for the hardcore users. Do you know what? Yeah, that I think would work. And you kind of almost have to argue, well, does modern air combat, could modern air combat do that?
Probably. And I think that's what they're aiming for.
Could modern air combat be a free to play and then suddenly, DCS, like, okay, it's a $5 a month or something like that. Yeah, that might be a different thing if they were swapping their free-to-play product. Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah. Don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? But we will continue to provide our commentary and discussion every Saturday. So, come here, same place, same time, and we'll talk about it. Cool. Alrighty. So, with that, I think we'll call this to a close. It's been a very fun stream. Thank you, everybody, as always, for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment. Fly safe, and we'll see you all next time. Ta-ta.